This is Dr. Von Madden. Today we're going to be building another variant of the balloon car. Now, you remember last time I built it out of cardboard, but we're going to build this one out of heavier materials. It does drive, as you can see, observe, and we'll give it a short drive on the car on the table here. Bear with me. Now, see, it does move, and it will travel quite a far ways along the road. And I put our little test pilot dude up here. Might have to seatbelt him in. Now, to build this thing, you're going to need 4 of these. Those are going to be your part of your axle assembly. Now, you could also simplify it and use these, but I prefer a little more structure. If you don't have these, just go ahead and cut these off, and I'll show you kind of a quick tip on how to do that. Just kind of do it like this. You're going to need 2 milk jugs or 2 Gatorades. You can make a match, maybe not. I'm not making a match today. 1 fairly good sized dowel rod. I'm going to get a slightly heavier one because these heavier ones seem to do better. A balloon, a glue gun, a pair of scissors. Be careful with both of these. And a drill. Now, first thing we're going to do is go ahead and drill our wheels out because, well, we need the wheels drilled out. You got to be very careful with this. You'll notice on all of these, there's an injection point right in the middle of these. Just a kind of a little dot. You want to line it up on top of that. And gently through. And you should have a hole in the middle of it. Now, we'll go ahead and get these others done real quick. About that, the battery ran out. So, where were we? Oh yeah, drilling out holes. Now, in this one here, it's a little trickier because there's no, on these milk jugs right here, there's really no center point, but I think I hit pretty close. Now, we'll get the one more. I think that one's a little offset, but we'll see how it works. Now, first thing you're going to do is go ahead and glue the clothespins shut because you really don't need to be able to open them. We're not using them for their springs, we're using them for the fact that they're shaped right to use as a bushing. Make sure you line them up good if they're a little bit twisty. Like so. Now, get one more. There we go. There we are. Now, your next step is to take a couple of these popsicle sticks. Now, what you're wanting to do, since you're wanting them to be even, start right here, and I want the end of that round piece right there to come right upon that groove where the spring is. We're going to do the same thing on this side. So, do the same thing on this side. Do the same thing again. I got a little bit over where I needed to be, but we'll make it work. Just got to get it evened up. Now, make another one like that. There you go. And your chassis should start to look something like that. Now, your next step is going to be to take a popsicle stick. Now, what I'm going to do, we're going to cut it down. Normally I would just cut it in half and use half a piece, but I'm wanting to make it a little bit, we'll give it a little bit more wide wheelbase. Maybe not. We'll cut it down just a little more. So I don't want it too narrow, but we don't want it so far apart that it makes the axles a little bow in the middle. So what you want to do now is match these two up to each other and make sure by setting them up like this that they're even, and they are. You can also use a popsicle stick to kind of level them up. And this one here is a little bit crooked, so we'll straighten him up here. There we go. I think that should do the do. Yes, it should. Now, do the same thing on this side. Kind of measure it. I should have measured it before I cut it, but it is what it is. It's a little bit longer. We can take off more, but we can't add it, so we got to be careful with that. Now we're going to come over here, glue that into place. Drop this in. Now, let's put another thing right here. I'm just going to go ahead. I cut the first ones, but I think since we're not putting the seat on this one, because I don't know how many people actually have little sitting astronaut guys. So we'll just go ahead and glue this frame into place wholesale. Saves on having to cut wood too, so it ought to simplify construction as well. I'm going to glue that in like so. Now, what you're going to do at this point is figure out which end is up on your chassis. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put an A-frame sort of thing right here. So what we're going to do is cut this down, figure out what angle you're wanting this at. You want it cut like so. Grab another one, do the same thing to it. Now, if you have any scrap wood, you can put a seat on it. If you have a little man you can put on there to sit with. I don't have another one, so all I've got is our test pilot. Now these are going to set kind of at an angle like so. So what you want to do is come over here, glue along the spring. Now it's going to lean a little bit until you get a chance to put a support on it, but we're going to do that momentarily. That's going to be your frame for your fuel supply here, and the fuel supply and the engine are one thing in the case of this balloon. It's actually in some ways a true rocket in some ways. So there you are. Now I'm going to grab us another popsicle stick. We're going to cut it on the ends so that it'll fit, or at least on one end, like so. Turn this around so you can see what I'm doing. We're going to glue him in place in here and right up here. Whoa, he fell down. Alright. Kind of need it glued in place right here. In this case I cut it a little short, but it'll be okay. Now, we'll take another, since I've got an extra piece lying around, we'll go ahead and glue this back here as kind of a support strut for that thing, for the because that's where your exhaust is going to go in the jet pipe. And that's where this is going to come in. Now we're going to go ahead and put the wheels on this thing while I've got it in my head. We're going to measure up the wheels. So we're going to cut it like that. Now, if you don't have these, you could just cut these down to size, but it won't run near as smoothly, I don't think. Oh, that came loose. Pull it up before it was quite dry, so let's go ahead and re-secure this. Now, turn this up because I got to make sure that the axles are going to fit. Kind of want to measure it out, and I cut this axle way too short. So, what we're going to do is we need to cut it a little bit longer. Like I said, you can take it off, but you can't add it back, and that's the whole problem sometimes. Okay, I think we got one that we can fit on here. Let me see. Yeah, that'll do the do. We're going to put these blue ones are slightly smaller, so we want these up front. Got a bit of a split right here, so I want to be very careful. Alright. That actually fits on there quite snugly. I like these heavier axles for that reason. They tend to make the car a little more honest, as it were. See, now you should be able to get some pretty decent rolling. Now we're going to use this side here to do the same thing. We're going to cut this little point off here because we don't really need it. Let's see if I can get this cut off here. I have to weaken the structure. Bamboo is surprisingly strong. So right now what we're going to do is we got to pull this back off for a minute because we're not quite ready for that. You've got to do your next step. Now I just wanted to make sure the axles fit. You've got to have a bushing. Now the bushing's to keep your axles from slippy sliding around here. Now what you want to do here is put this in place, slide this on, and that's basically going to act as a bushing to keep your wheels balanced. It's kind of the same as in your car. Now then, let's see if we can get this balanced out a little bit. Now then, oh yeah. Now then, I'm going to do the same thing over here. Let's go ahead and get this wheel into place. There you are. It's going to roll like a jalopy. It's a little off center, but I think it'll survive. Alright, let's cut our bushings onto this one now. Make sure it fits in between, and it's a little bit too long, so we cut it down to get it down to length. There you are. Now, slide this through here. And now if you wanted to, you could glue the tires onto it. As tight as this fit is, it's not really all that necessary, but you can if you want to. Now there you are. Now there's everything, almost everything you need. You see, it rolls actually very well. Now your exhaust, and it's also going to act as the means by which that the propulsion is delivered transfers the energy down here to do what it needs to do. You're going to glue this into place right here. Now if you think you're going to have a little bit of an issue with it being too loose, just kind of over secure it. I'd rather overcompensate than undercompensate on this, because the last thing you want when you're trying to get one of these operational is a catastrophic failure, which anytime you're building anything is a distinct possibility. Now there's one thing I forgot to mention during the video, and I'm going to bring it up now, is that you will need a rubber band. I about forgot it, and I'm sure if you're watching these videos enough, you know to keep rubber bands handy. Now that's pretty well the end of the glue gun and the drill, so we're going to go ahead and put this into place. Now what you want to do is slide your balloon in here, and then you kind of thread your balloon up over the top. You come back around, thread your balloon back through, because you don't want it too tight. You don't want it tight enough it's going to squeeze off the air supply that's coming out of the balloon, but you do want it enough that it can that'll keep the air supply in. In this case I kind of messed up. Let's see here. No, we got it. Now let's see if it holds air. And we'll test this thing right here. What to do that? You just basically well, I didn't give it a whole lot. Let's see what we got going on here. Maybe the fact that we're on uneven ground. Try it again. Alright, I'm hitting some obstacles on here. On a smooth surface it should do a little better. If you think you're going to have some issues, maybe pull the wheels a little bit further out from the car. Make sure you're not getting any drag up against the chassis, which I suspect's our problem here. There we go. Widen this wheel, get these wheels out a little bit from the chassis. If you need to, you can put some craft beads on there as bushings to kind of keep it further from doing that. We'll try that and see what happens. Actually, I can't do that. These are too big. Well, either way, we'll kind of bring these out here. We'll lengthen these. I don't like doing it because it's going to cause a lot more play in the wheels. You could always also maybe, that's an idea. You got an idea. Let's try something. First thing we're going to do is take these. I've got this piece of straw right here. I'm going to cut some bushings. Well, I don't know why I did not think of that. Let's try to see how this works now. One bushing. Slide this through. Oh yeah. That'll work nicely. Grab my little circle of plastic here. This actually will hold the wheels away from the axle, and I suspect it'll make it a little more easy to maneuver it for it to drive, because it won't be dragging up against the thing, and it won't be kind of. So let's see what it does now. Still hitting them. Yeah. All right. Let's put some bushings on this side. One bushing. Let's slide this up here, put this back through here, hook it to run it through the central pivot here on this wheelbase here, back through. Now, this should smooth it up a little bit. If nothing else, you could always also grease the axles. You gotta remember, each one of these is going to be a tad different, so it's a little bit tricky. But we'll see what we come up with here. And get this out. There we go. Now, go ahead and put this back on it. And see now. Now let's try it again. Wish I could figure out a way to clear this thing out. It's got some glue stuck to it. Yeah, it's hitting up against stuff on here, but you can definitely see that it rolls. Really wish I had something smooth to put it on. I'll tell you what, let's push some of this stuff back and see if I can get it out here where it's not as much glue on this board here. We'll show you again. Yeah. It's a little bit loppy, but the thing is if you can get your axles to stop doing that. I think what it is that, let's see, it's an uneven surface, I suspect. Let's see if we can find something even to put it on. I'll move this glue gun around over here and this over here and see if I can get this thing a decent running start. It might be that this frame's a tad, no, the frame's not twisted. Now let's try it again. Oh yeah, now we're getting somewhere. You saw that, about rolled off the page. About rolled off the table. Let's try it again. Now. Yeah, I had to stop it, but there you are. And with a little more practice, and I'm sure you can see I've done some mods on both of these, and I put my little man up in the seat up here. So, there you are. Well, you know, if you have something, you just kind of keep tinkering with it till you get it, which is what I always do, but that should do it. I think the problem here is that these wheels may be just a tad uneven, or I'm on some uneven surface, but we can see that it does in fact work. I'll try the original and show you. Pinch off the air. See, that one doesn't do it either, but it does it very nicely on the floor, which I really don't have a surface to show you. So anyways, this is Dr. Von Mad, and I'll tell you what, I'm going to try something and we'll be back with you. Alright, I'll show you what I did. I pulled this balloon a little further down on this thing to give it a little, so it's not dragging up on the front as bad. Just try it and see what it does now. See, I think what it maybe you have, the problem is that we got too much balloon up here still. Don't fill it up quite all the way and see what happens, or maybe all the way, and I don't know. We'll try it again. You can see it is propelling. If nothing else, you might want to raise that up a little bit. Let's try it over here on my carport. As I know the concrete over here is a little smoother. There you go. You gotta have it on a smooth surface, but it definitely rolls, as you can see. And with a fair amount of force behind it. So, this is Dr. Ron Mad with the balloon car, signing out. Happy motoring. If you like what you see, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the bell to get notified, and we'll see you cats on the flip side.